Hey, what's up? This is Hans with Request for Music. And today I'm going to show a work in progress that I have, which is a modular synth. It's a modular synth, or it's based on a modular synth that I built when I was very younger, very much younger than I'm today. And that was an analog modular synth, and being spoiled with all of the presets that are possible right now, I tried to rebuild the system in Reaktor, and that's a system that we're looking at now. Since it's a pretty large synth, I've called it BIXYN, big synthesizer, and well, all of the modules are off at the moment. As you can see, there's nothing that can be selected. You don't see any knobs. Since it is a modular synthesizer, most modules do not have any connections to others, and so they're not predefined. You have to switch stuff on and connect everything. I don't use wires. I use connections by using the names of the modules. So, for instance, if I want to do something, at least if I want to have it respond to a keyboard, because it doesn't do anything at the moment, I have to switch modules on. There's a small light on each left top of the modules, and there you can switch stuff on. So if I switch to VCO on, which is the oscillator, um, I have it on, but still there's nothing there yet. At least I have to use a filter, I have to use an amplifier VCA, and I have to use an ADSR, which is the attack, decay, sustain, release module. So that's the envelope. So what I need at least is to use one of the waves that I can use from any VCO. I've got 6 VCOs, as you can tell. I've got two 12 dB filters, two 24 dB filters, two resonance filters. It has 10 ADSRs, two VCAs, 3 sequencers, two LFO modules, which is capable of making 6, well, actually it's 6 different LFOs that you can set in according to speed, but each LFO module, each small module in here, has 3 waves of its own. So there's lots of waves you can have, 3, 6, 9. So that's 18 18 different LFO um, waves that you can use. And apart from LFOs and sequencers, it has a sample and hold, it has an A440 tuner, it has a ring modulator, and there's tools that can add, multiply, invert, or delay signals that are in there. And it's got a scope, a delay, a phaser or flanger, chorus, and an interface which you can do a lot of stuff with. And apart from that, it has a master volume and a button that sort of syncs all of the sequencers together. So that's at least a start. So what could I do? I could connect all of them. I could switch one of the sounds on, and still hasn't anything in there. The 3 buttons or the 3 knobs on the bottom of the oscillator can choose which of the filters it goes on. So this first button defines the mix between the first and the second filter. The next one does the same for the third and the fourth, and so on for the fifth and the sixth filter. So it's set to the first filter. It's got it panning all the way to the left, so it goes completely to this one. And I can switch the filter on and dial the filter up, and then at least it would go to the VCA, because this does sort of the same thing for the VCA. So in this case, it goes to the left VCA. But this one has not been does not have an envelope yet, so I need to switch this to the ADSR, and then I got some signal. And again, this is a list of all of the modulation sources that I could use, and so every of those modulation sources can be used with any of those things in here. So let's put it a bit up, so at least you hear that I've got a pulse sound, and I need to switch the port bend off. So this is a basic pulse sound, and I could give it pulse width modulation by switching the LFO on and use, for instance, my LFO1 and the triangle to put into my pulse width modulation. So there's and then, of course, instead of having my filter completely open, I could use that same ADSR for my envelope setting, or use another ADSR. So I just switched the second one on, switch this to ADSR2, and I have to look it up in the list, and that needs that's some of the things that need to be improved upon. And you hear it's polyphonic. It's not monophonic. It's polyphonic. And I could put my delay on. Oops. I had a bit too long settings. And well, for the oscillators themselves, they can just be dialed up and down. So I could dial up another one, switch it to the proper filter. So something like that. Well, for instance, I've got lots of presets already made. For instance, for splits, a couple of init sounds, like well, the sounds that you would need, like a pulse width modulated square, or just a simple sine wave. Or or let's say that I needed an organ or something, I could switch that on, and this one uses 6 oscillators to get a complete sound. So something like that. But for instance, I could have lots of other different sounds. Thing like a split sound. Something like that. Or let's see, what do I have? This one uses a sequencer, as you can tell. something like that. Okay, well, what else? Let's see. I've been using, I've been trying to make some sounds from the memory Moog. Something like that, or oops. But for the same, it could do lots of different effects, of course, as well. And since it's a modular synth, you can connect almost everything for the weirdest sounds that you would want. And for instance, some again, it has lots of very strange sounds that you could make. Okay, well, anyway, I think that was sort of the first impression that I would want to give from this work in progress. So, well, that's my BIXYN. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to ask, and I'll be back with some new tutorials on, or demos actually, on them, since I have not decided in what way I'm going to put this out. I will put it up for sale at some point, but need to get something solved with native instruments on one side, and the other thing is that I probably am going to port this to something like Max MSP and maybe to something else as well. I'll check that later. Cheers. Bye bye.